Chef Checks. It's me, Maya Chef Check, and welcome to May and Idea Sunday. Today we'll be making a dollhouse teddy bear with this cabochon and the 15-point wool from Dobby's. If you ever buy this wool, please like it enough to justify its price, because if you don't like it enough to spend 15 points on it, then I advise not to buy it. But if it's really beautiful, and that is my favorite color, pink, so I justified the price of this. Look at all of these beautiful soft details. But be careful. I have to be careful with my money because I can go on holidays. I've been recently to Madeira, and then there will be some more in Malta for October, and I'm also getting a umbrella table, so now I'll be more careful with my money. But yet this is something you have to like enough to justify the price for anybody who is planning to buy it at Dobby's. But anyways, it was from the range anyways. Just have to use something to hold the teddy bear, the dollhouse teddy bear on. And I'm going to make a neon pink teddy bear with that. It's not really neon, but I'll add in some glow in the dark bits into it later. But for now, I'm going to just cut very small hairs of this wool for the teddy bear. So that's the length of hairs I'm cutting. And now preparing my wefts. So that's the hairs I'm cutting for the wefts. And very carefully, because of their price, I'm going to just add them in like this. One by one is the best way. And just making it will be a very fluffy teddy bear for dolls. It will be very time consuming to add all these little wefts of this, but I think it's going to be worth it, and especially considering the price of the pink wool. And I've got some white wool from the range that I'm going to make some yellow glow in the dark wefts for the teddy bear, because that's the blend that I want to do. And these wefts were time consuming, so that's why I had to start in February and give myself time until 3rd of May. And especially that it's so tiny, but yet the more time consuming the projects can get, the more I allow myself time to finish these idea Sundays like this. And probably I'm thinking this will be the most time-consuming teddy bear that is very little that I'm going to make in that series. I know Idea Sunday is all about trying new things, like the most expensive wool I could afford, and also try out, I'm not sure if there's even more expensive wools, but I think the £15 one was the most expensive I can afford right now, because I'm saving up for my holidays that my parents already planned. So don't ask me to buy crazy expensive wools that are even crazier priced than that one. But yet I made these glow-in-the-dark yellow wefts. They need to dry before adding them on. The first batch of wefts dried. This area is too long, but that's fine because I can maybe salvage it for the stomach area, because I will want to do the longer hairs on the head and the arms and legs, and shorter on the stomach. Long forehead, arms and legs, and short for the stomach, or something like this. This will allow it some teeny tiny clothing to be removable on it later. But I do want those wefts pretty long on such a tiny scale. And let's apply more of these wefts here. But check if they're like evenly trimmed. And these wefts, I'm just trying to make it all work. So these bits of wefts I'm going to put on the stomach of this teddy bear like this. So just applying my wefts accordingly to the plan, or maybe better to cut these wefts even shorter there, because that was looking not so good. I am figuring out as I go along. with this. I did do similar type of thing with Elysia, the sloth, some years ago, so I'm taking the same approach, but like not the same but similar approach to Elysia, the sloth from 2023. But this approach will be more advanced than this Elysia sloth plushie I did back then. So I do remember that I've made it, but when I forgot exactly, especially that the video just disappeared out of memory but still lives on in the internet, on YouTube. So the video still lives on YouTube. I tend to just do so many, my memory doesn't keep up with these videos. My brain just doesn't keep up with them, but YouTube does. And considering I was a big strawberry shortcake kid growing on my first ever time when I wanted to become a YouTuber. At the time I was a very strawberry shortcake kid, and now as a grown adult I do dollhouse videos. And the channel has just turned into a dollhouse miniature channel. So that's what has happened. I still enjoy strawberry shortcake's Berry Bitty Adventures and the older ones. Strawberry shortcake berry in the big city. I did want it to be good, but it's not for me. The berry in the big city, I find it too overstimulating for me. But the other strawberry shortcakes I liked. It's not the berry in the big city because just find that too overstimulating for my... But if you like it, it's okay. It's just what overstimulates me is different from what overstimulates and what does not overstimulate you. But you know. And that's looking very dragon fruit with this very pink color that I've chosen of the wool. I was thinking of maybe naming it cherry, but it's looking more dragon fruit now. What should I do? It looks dragon fruit whenever I added the yellow glow in the dark wefts to that. Maybe let's add one more in the middle and re-edit the video intro and change up the title of this episode. And I thought about the back of it, and I'm going to glue some build up to not make the body flat in the back, just using beads for that body build-up. And now it needs to dry. I thought what to do with the arms and legs. And I'm going to impale this wire into this cavity of the bear's body. And I'm going to add these rice beads that are really good for arms and legs of dolls. I've been gathering millions of these for that reason. And I'm trying to get the arms and legs right for this. And I will add a smaller bead. And I will bend it. Because I started to realize I'm barely seeing all the arms and legs with that long wefts being added to this tiny plushie that will be for dolls. So just trying to make them more visible. So let's impale that inside the body cavity. And yet that will also make it a little bit more posable. It is a teddy bear, it doesn't need to be super posable. But at least in a teddy bear, I want to be able to move the arms and legs at least a little bit. Because that used to frustrate me that I could not make my teddy bear sit or stand. It just frustrated me the fact that I could just have them fixed in one position. So that's why I want it to be at least a little bit movable. So those are the arms added. And then that, what should I do for the legs? I'm deciding maybe this should be the front of the bear. No, but how will I add in the legs? Will I need another bead or something? Another bead. I did like teddy bears growing up, but just that feature used to frustrate me a little, to be honest, that they could not move at all. And I figured it out what I'm going to do for the legs. This will be hidden later. Okay, let's get the legs on. They will be as short as the arms. That's what I'm planning to make those legs. And let's use the same bead for the hand. So for the feet of this tiny little bear, added the legs. Now it's starting to look a little bit like a Sonic the Hedgehog character in a raspberry color. But we're not intending to do that, so let's just cover that wire up. And And I will add flock into those tiny little legs. And I will have to think of something for the ears too. I was making myself a real life version of this plushie. And I flocked the arms and legs. I'm going to do wefts for the head and flocking for the arms, legs and body. I was going to do arm and leg wefts too, but I thought that would not look as good as just the wefts on its head. So I decided to just stick with the wefts only on her head. I think that will look better. So I'm applying those neon yellow glow in the dark wefts sparingly, because I do kind of want it to glow in the dark, but not too much. Just a subtle yellow, neon yellow glow in the dark wefts. And I have just 2 left, which I think is enough of these wefts for what I want to do. But let's make the bear sit for this one, as she already has her legs added. Okay. Now, let's let this dry. Then while it was drying, I thought to myself, what about the ears? High in the universe, will I make its ears more visible? I'm going to use more of that yellow glow in the dark paint for the base. And then I'm going to let it dry, and I will add the wefts onto the ears. But first, let's paint that in that yellow glue in the dark paint, because I think that would be perfect solution for that. And considering the fact she's got a little bit of yellow glow in the dark wefts on her head, although I'm only planning to do these glow in the dark wefts subtly, I still wanted to do it because I thought how great this would look with this beautiful raspberry wool as a base. But this glow in the dark yellow would work really beautifully as an accent color to the dark raspberry pink, because that dark pink plus the bright neon yellow is a great color combination that I like. So I decided to bring it into my YouTube channel. And if I finish my real person version of this plushie in time, I may show you a it at the end, but we'll see. 'Cause this feels a little bit time consuming to do that project, so the plushie's a little bit more, but I could use up the plushie's trimmings into the small tiny one, because back in the day when I made Elysia the sloth some years ago, I had the time to rewatch my own video about it, to refresh my own memory on how I made that sloth, because I felt like I needed it for this video in order to tell you what I made back in that day. So, although it's 2 or 3 years since I've made that Elysia, but let me explain. The blue color faded a little, but the pajama colors are still holding up strong over these 2 years. For Elysia, I used trimmings of fake fur, the faux fur, and now I'm using actual wool for the flocking part, which is different considering the price and quality of the wool. For today's project, I anticipating for it to last like 20-30 years before it fades. But we'll see. Although Elysia still looks good, although color little bit faded over the 2 or 3 years after I've made him. But yet my skills have changed over the years, because if I was to remove Elysia's pajama top, you can see pipe cleaners, and now I've learned to use beaten wire for the arms and legs, but the length is still the same as what I intended. So, and the legs are also made out of pipe cleaners. Just a little bit of facts about what I did years ago, and now I'm making something with a different but same technique as this one 2 to 3 years later. And I want to see if I have improved over these years. 2 layers of yellow glow-in-the-dark paint on the wooden beads, because there will be barriers. And then I added some raspberry wool, like just started to add it in. Now I will do it strand by strand, the wefts of this wool, but now it needs to dry. This took me a while to figure out how I'm going to do her ears, but I did not like the position of the legs, so that's why I changed it. She has arms, but they're hard to move, too much and also not very visible. But at least I'm getting where I want with this project. I still have to do this one ear. Because that ear was finished, just one more ear to do. Hadn't put eyes on it yet, or mouth or nose, but that's later. And also I need to collect flyaways from the big plushie to put here to fill up that area of the plush. And also that ear came off, but I did not let it dry after I freshly added it, so now I'm adding it again. Can you see the ear? Because I am trying to make you see it. And I'm going to have the underbelly also raspberry colored, because this time, unlike the sloth, I want the teddy bear to look good with or without clothing on. Just so I would have more options in the dollhouse for it, if she should wear clothes or not, and instead of deciding, she'll have both of these options. So let's let that dry. Although the wefts and flocking using that wool is not done yet, because there's still this patch to do, and I also need to do the legs. But I have gathered the beads for the eyes. We're going to give it light hazel green eyes and the beige nose. So that's what we're going to do. The lighter colors would also complement the dark raspberry color. So maybe I'll use that beige bead for the nose of this thing. And now it's time for the eyes to go on. These green beads will be her eyes. And I'll trim that because it will look better trimmed down. Actually, just trim down the wefts here, because the face needs to look a certain way. So let's just re-glue that eye, and the trimmed things can go on the legs. And yet I'm trying to make that look good, both with clothes on and both with clothes off. This bear, so that's why I'm doing this. And I'm glad that I changed the wire placement of the legs, because I did not like the tightly wrapped around leg placement. And I think the more loose placement of the legs just feels more teddy bear-like, because that tight one was not giving teddy bear, it was more giving a Sonic the Hedgehog character that's just raspberry colored. But anyways, although it's such a tiny amount of short wefts, it's still very soft to the touch. And now that needs to dry, although I'm still doing the ear and the legs. I did one leg of this flocking, and there's this ear. I'm still doing the second ear, but now I've decided to flock the back of the ears with the same raspberry flocking that I made. Just fill it in like this. And we're not filling the inside of the ear in the front. So that's the pattern I'm setting for the ears. Let's now continue the legs and the ears. So I still have those leftovers that I'm going to put on the legs of this teddy bear. So let's glue those flocking pieces onto the leg, the second leg. So let's just put it up in the air and let's just trim it very, what's the word for it? Tiny pieces. Because I keep using it but can't find a better word for it. So I just use the tiniest pieces that I can possibly make out of the wool, for a lack of better term. Now the arms and legs are almost filled in with flocking, so I keep on adding even more to areas where I feel it needs more than it does. And yes, I can still move those legs, but maybe I should cover the orange bead because it makes it look a little bit like chicken legs on a teddy bear. I don't know why, but let's just cover it up with even more of this raspberry flocking to see if that's the answer against the chicken legs. And it is. That looks at least somewhat more believable. Time to let it dry, because she kind of reminds me of a dragon fruit I looked up female dragon names online to try to name this dragon fruit colored teddy bear, and the name is Elysia. Elysia. I think that suits her the most out of those female dragon names I looked up online, because although this is not a dragon, I still wanted her to have at least a female dragon-like name, although I hadn't finished Elysia yet. Here's her name on paper. And she had an appearance in Glinty Minty Sparkle Season 1, Episode 12, because I wanted to use her unfinished form in that, with her ear not being attached, because that was on purpose, because in that scene it falls off of Elysia. So that's what I want to do for Elysia's Glinty Minty Sparkle appearance, because I kind of wanted to include it without her dress, with some flocking off of her, and with the ear falling off, because that's Glisten's old toy. And let's see, with Glisten, that's a big teddy bear for Glisten. So that's what I wanted to note in this Idea Sunday. Oops, I spelled her name wrong. That's her actual name, Elysia. That's better. Now Elysia had her broken appearance in Glinty Minty Sparkle episode Elysia the Minty Old Plushie. The Minty Fresh, then I changed it to Old because that's supposed to be like an ironic thing to name an episode, because the plushie in that episode was so old the ear fell off. So that's why I had to include her not broken, unfinished. So after filming that, after the dolls stitch the ear back on, I'm going to glue the ear finally after filming. And then add some more wefts or flocking of this wool to fill it in, because I wanted the yellow side to be visible during filming Elysia the Minty Old Plushie scene. Don't want to add spoilers for these who hadn't seen it, but that's what I did for it. But now after filming that part, I glued the ear, and I'm going to do some more of the leftover flocking on her leg. Just her foot area needs to be covered up in that flocking to make her actually look more brand new, although ironically the episode said that she's like some years old. A lot of years old, but I won't spoil it, so I'm not going to say it for these who hadn't seen the episode. But that's what I'm ironically doing to this Idea Sunday episode, as well as the Glinty Minty Sparkle episode. I may use her in other videos, but for the Glinty Minty Sparkle, I just wanted to give her a bit of an appearance into the series. Although the episode came out in 3rd of May 2026, and the Glinty Minty Sparkle episode came out on 20th of March, while this Idea Sunday where I made it will be on 3rd of May. So that's why I made such a decision with that plushie along the way as I was making it. But now it's time to let it dry, and I'm going to film the parts where it's all fixed before Aunt Minty came in that episode. Watch it for yourself to figure it out, because I don't want to add spoilers for people who hadn't seen it yet. But if you have, then you know. And then, after filming the Glinty Minty Sparkle episode with Elysia, I'm going to recreate her dress in smaller scale. The big dress has some parts hand sewn and some parts done on the sewing machine, because here are the sewing machine lines. But the puffy sleeves I did hand sewing. I stitched on the beads by hand, but the collar I did on the sewing machine. But this smaller dress will be just hand sewn, because I'm afraid I'm going to cause a fabric jam in my sewing machine on something that small. But yet I have caused thread jams in sewing machines. But at least I know how to fix it. But still, I'm afraid of having fabric jams in my sewing machine, if that's the term to describe it. Because I did before go to sewing classes, so that's how at least I know how to fix these problems if they arise. But this is just hand sewing. I kind of need a doll or a teddy bear big enough for my sewing machine practice. They're actually good objects to practice on. But anyways, that's the dress I've made. I had to cover that body so it looks good both with and without clothing on. So, let's put the dress on that I'm obviously still making because I need the collar and the buttons. The smaller one will not have puffy sleeves because that's too complex for such a tiny scale of a plushie, but I can stitch on the beads to still make it accurate without it looking either too bulky for the scale, because I think the puffy sleeves on that scale, I did try it, but it looked too bulky. Because it's easy to make it really bulky and not that good looking on a tinier scale. So we're not doing that, and I have made this little pink collar. It's a bow, but the bow can actually work as a collar for the dress really well. So we're going to stitch that onto the smaller dress as well. So let's get out the needle and thread, and we're going to sew those things on. But first, let's temporarily remove the dress, and let's stitch the said details on. First, the bow. That could work well as a collar for the dress. And now let's get buttons onto it that are actually beads, but whatever. It's what you want to do if that was yours. So I'm just basically stitching them on and close that with a knot and cut it off. That looks better. Let's put it on her. Good thing I ordered the cerise fabric, the cerise gingham fabric, because I love its color. I kind of bought it in need of purple gingham like this, but whenever I saw how beautiful the cerise color was, I also added it to the eBay cart to buy it all at once. Not all the colors, but purple and cerise first. Then sage and yellow gingham fabric from the same seller later, because that eBay seller actually has good deals on that and a lot of options, which is something that I like. There is barely any fabric store in my area, so that's why I, for some fabrics, turn to online shopping. Which is great to have options, but online shopping makes you wait until it arrives, which can have its own pros and cons, but if you do have to because of where you're located and how many options you have for fabric stores near you, because I barely have any options. That's a good way to turn to online shopping, especially when there's so many more options there. There is some fabrics at the range, but the options are a bit... There is some options, but not as much as online shopping, so that's why I turn to online when I really need a specific fabric, but the range doesn't have it. But I still love to go to the range. So take from that what you will take from that. So that's what, but yet the color is pink. The actual big teddy bear has it yellow, so maybe I'll grab my glue in the dark yellow for that and paint the bow glue in the dark yellow. So after grabbing the paint, I will just very gently paint it. Glue in the dark yellow, because the glue in the dark yellow is her accent color of it. I know the wool that I used for the plushie is from Dobby's, but that's more expensive than the range. Yet the range has wools that are more affordable and easier to justify their price. So there's options like this for wool, but anyways, time to let the bow dry. Then I was sitting and thinking, should I conclude the video or add another thing to this project? Because the big plushie that I'm doing for myself is not finished, and I was debating if it should be included in that video or not. But I'll let you see what I chose right at the end of the video, whether to include it finished or not, because at the time when I got to this stage of the small one, the big one wasn't. But yet, if there was a difference in wool quality between Elysia and Elysia, well, Elysia does not look out of place with Elysia whenever they're both placed together in one dollhouse shelf or something. But Elysia is wearing pajamas for the whole purpose of it being a pajama sloth plushie, while Elysia is wearing a dress. But yet, this still does not look out of place together. They actually suit to be together, although the outfits could look a bit Not for the occasions, but still they don't look out of place together. And I also, for Elysia, ordered some bells from eBay. And I will come back to filming this episode when the bells arrive. Because I do want to put a bell in the collar or the bow, or however you interpret this to be. So just ordered it and now I'm waiting for it to arrive. So see you when it arrives. What a rainy day. It's 5th of March and my bells are here for Elysia. Yay! Not just bells, but colorful ones. Look at yellow, blue, purple, red, and pink. So many options. So I think I'll use the pink ones for the plushie outfits. Because I ordered a big batch of colorful bells for the project. There's so many and it's really convenient of them to sell this, and even that it will last me lots of projects before I have to buy more. So I don't need to buy more until these run out and I need to use that again. Which is great of them to sell this on eBay. And also the colors are lovely, but let's put all these other colors away and stitch it to her pajamas and dress. So that's what I'll be doing. That's something before I conclude this video. Just stitch those bells on and annoy people with the sign. I stitched the bell on. However, the pajamas bell is silent, while the dress is really light. Although this silent bell doesn't work, that's fine. Elysia can have the duality of being either really loud or just silent, because she makes happy bell noises during the day, but at night it's just silence. So if that's the case, then that's okay. It's still a cute decoration, although that one barely even works. I was working on the big plushie, but I decided to not show it finished in this video, because I just lost the motivation to finish the big one, but that's the small one. So Chef Jax, what do you think of Elysia the Dragonfruit bear? Plushie, please tell me in the comments. Let's try on her pajamas. This better be part of the before and after photos that I'm taking for this video. And bye, Chef Checks. See you in another video. Bye. And please also, before I go, tell me how fitting she would look with Elysia. This love, and bye, Chef Checks. See you in another video. Bye.